Today I'm excited because we are checking out the new Friedman Arredondo Jose 20 amplifier that has just been released. And this is going to be a lot of fun because this amp is so good. Let's start right away with the demo track. Take a listen. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Sounded pretty good, right? That was 4 guitars into this amplifier with 4 different tones. We started off with the PRS Tremonti with a nice, thick, juicy tone. Then I picked up my Edwards LP-CTM, sort of Les Paul custom with Gibson pickups for a little bit more of a hair metal-esque tone. Then I used my Vola OZ MC on the single coil neck pickup first, and then the bridge humbucker for a more of a classic broken up clean tone. And then we went for a super heavy tone with my VanderMeij Magistra Baritone. And yeah, sounded so good. So this is a really versatile amplifier, as you'll get to see in this video. Massive thanks to the folks at Friedman for sending me this amp. I really appreciate it. And if at any point in this video you're interested in getting one for yourself, please check out my affiliate links for Thomann and Sweetwater, as that really helps out the channel at no additional cost for you guys. All right, so in terms of the signal chain for the rest of this video, right now I'm holding my Infinia Guitars Ceres, a great guitar. That's going into my small pedal board. For now I'm just using Zoot out the gate. That's going into the amp. The amp is going into my Grossmann Fatbox 1x12, in which I've loaded up my trusty Celestion Vintage 30, mic'd up with 3 mics, 2 SM57s and 1 MD421 Kompakt, sent into the DAW, and that's what you're hearing. So yeah, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the legend of Jose Arredondo, but he used to be a legendary amp modder back in the day. He modded old Marshalls to make them sound more modern, basically. add more gain, more saturation, more harmonics, and just made them more fun to play, basically, because, you know, vintage Plexis and stuff, they're not exactly forgiving. And, you know, with the added gain stage and everything, it makes the amps a lot more fun to play, especially for high gain players like me. Last year, Friedman released the 100 watt version, and now the 20 is here. I did try the 100 over at Henning's place at 42 Gear Street last year, which was a lot of fun. It had a bit of a learning curve, that's for sure, with the controls, but that was great. You can watch that video on my channel if you're interested. But now we are checking out this wonderful little guy, the 20 watt version, with a power section equipped with 2 EL84 tubes. Some of you might say, oh, EL84 tubes, they always sound so squishy. Well, first of all, obviously, this thing isn't going to have the headroom of a 100 watt amp. So if you need that headroom, get the 100, right? But if you don't need all that headroom and you're fine with 20 watts, this thing sounds so good. And especially Dave Friedman knows how to make amps sound good that are equipped with little tubes, if you will. Anyway, so I have a tone dialed in right now, which is kind of my favorite tone out of the amplifier. It's quite a high gain tone. It sounds something like this. Oh yeah, sounds incredibly juicy, has a great texture in the mids, isn't harsh, very full sounding, and really a joy to play. And it does have that sort of, let's say, Dave Friedman's signature character going on. So it has a sort of, I don't want to say polished because it does have a very raw sound, but it has a very nice, refined sound. Let's put it like that, which I'm really enjoying and which I also really enjoy about my other Friedman amplifiers. But yeah, this tone just has so much sustain and all that texture and goodness and harmonics. Love it. Now I'm going to go over all the controls of the amplifier, and then after that we'll see how certain controls affect the tone specifically, okay? Because there's a lot going on. You could see it as a single channel amp, so there's not a foot switch that comes with this or anything like that. But you can get a very wide range of tones out of this, from nice cleans, broken up cleans, all the way up to soaring high gain, as you heard, right? You can get it to sound vintage, you can get it to sound modern, and everything in between, basically. Okay, so we've got a power switch, no standby switch. My old Double J Junior also had the same thing going on. I guess you don't need one, right? Dave knows his shit. We have a presence control, which is nice. A very effective one. Some Marshalls, I guess all JCM 800s and Plexis and stuff, the presence control is really subtle. I can let you guys hear how you can shape the tone with this control. It's really effective. So right now it's set to, let's say, 130. That's off. Yeah, so as you can hear, it has a lot of range, which is great. If you've got really dark sounding speakers, just turn it up. If you've got a very bright sounding speaker, turn it down, etc. Now, I think the big one, the 100 watt amp, also had a presence voicing switch, This one does not have that, but that's fine by me. We have a system volume. This is a control that is not on the 100 watt amp. If I recall correctly, this is just for balancing the volume of the amplifier because we have two master volume controls and they both respond differently. So with this control, you can just tweak the overall loudness of the amplifier, which is great. We'll get back to the pre and post master volume controls in a second. Over here, we have the post master volume control, which is active for the middle gain style and the setting on the right. So it's a three-way setting, this gain style switch over here. So on this mode right now, it's not active, as you can tell, okay? Then we have a 3-band EQ. It's voiced in a way that the controls definitely do respond more than on your traditional Marshall, JCM, or Plexi, which is great. You know what? Let's just play with the EQ so you guys can hear what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to chug a chord and tweak the bass control to start. So really responsive bass control there. Love that. Really thins out when you turn it down. Obviously, you get some thick, ballsy bottom end when you turn it up. Definitely much more drastic than in your old school British amp. Okay, let's do the same for the middle control. Got plenty of mids in there. I like it around, let's say 12 or 1 o'clock-ish. Let's do the same for the treble control. Right now I have it set to 3 o'clock. So around noon, it's a little bit too dark for me. Could work really well for lead tones and stuff, but I'm more of a rhythm player. So you can add some nice clarity and cut with the treble control. Very nice. So these are the settings that I'm sort of most familiar with right now and which I've landed on. And yeah, it sounds really good. Oh yeah, sounds great. So that is the EQ. Now keep in mind that the EQ will respond differently when you switch the gain styles, okay? I think they're the most drastic with how I have it set it up right now with the pre-master volume control. All right, then we have the pre-master volume control, which I already talked about. And basically what happens is if you set the gain style to the left setting, which enables this control, the master volume control gets put before the tone stack. And when you set it to the middle setting and the setting to the right, the master volume control, the post master volume control gets enabled, and that is behind the tone stack, okay? So for the most saturation, you would set the gain style to the left setting, which enables the pre-master volume control. Then we have volume 1 and volume 2. So with an old school Plexi, you'll have a treble channel and a normal channel. And with this amplifier, you just get the two controls, so it's internally bridged. And you can, use this to dial in the amount of thickness, because volume 2 is a thicker sounding channel and volume 1 is a brighter, more tight sounding channel. So just as with a traditional Plexi style amp, you can blend these two to get the amount of saturation that you want and the thickness. I can demonstrate that for you. So let's turn volume 2 all the way down and see how that sounds. So this is just with volume 1 turned all the way up. So there's a lot of clarity in there, but not the amount of thickness in the saturation that I would want. So what I like to do is slowly blend in volume 2 to get a bit more thickness in there. Let's do that while I'm chugging. Obviously turning it up all the way is a bit too much. That's very stonery, very fat. So let's turn it down a bit. So this is where the thickness slowly starts to come in a little bit, and I think it sounds great. You can also get a really thick tone. Just turn down volume 1, crank up volume 2 to get rid of some of that brightness. Let's turn down volume 1 all the way. So that is really thick. So for my own tones, I really like to have volume 1 as the dominant channel and then sort of dial in volume to taste, if you will. But there are a lot of possibilities, okay? So that's what those will do for you. And then we have this gain control for the additional gain stage, which is nice. So we have this Plex drive switch over here. Set it to the Plex mode for a more traditional sound. Still very rich, but it's not as gainy. So if you set it to the drive mode, an additional gain stage is added, and with this gain control, you can control the amount of gain for that stage. I'm a simple guy, I just like to max it out. And then we also have a fat switch over here, all the way down here to add a little bit of thickness to the bottom ends. It's off right now, let's turn it on. Off. So especially if you're a lead player, that might come in handy to fatten up the tone, right? But with it on, it's very fat, a little bit too fat for my rhythm taste, if you will. So those are all the controls that are on the amplifier. Let's start messing with them a little bit so you can hear how they can shape the tone. So let's start with the most basic setting, the Plex mode with the drive off. So with the drive off, the additional gain control does nothing, because that gain stage is taken out of the circuit, okay? And the fat control also really does nothing when you've set it to the Plex mode, so that's good to know. So now it's more like a traditional Plexi. And then if we also set the gain style to the middle setting, then the post-master volume control is active as the master volume control, as well as the system volume, of course. But this would be a very traditional Plexi sound, not with a lot of gain. Yeah, so gain style is set to the middle. The Plex drive switch is set to Plex right now, and fat isn't even active right now. So once again, you can now balance out these channels to get the amount of thickness that you want, or the amount of gain that you want. So let's say we want a nice clean tone. nice and chimey, nice and bright, very articulate. So you can turn these down even more to get a cleaner tone. And then push the master volume control for more level. So you can get pretty clean tones out of this amp if you want. You can probably get even cleaner. Let's lower volume 1 all the way. So that's very thick. Add a little bit in there. So the most of the volume is coming from volume 2 right now. That's clean, sounds good. But let's add some gain, right? Let's turn down the master volume, the post master volume control. It's a great vintage drive that we have going on here right now. Let's push volume 1 up all the way. Not nearly as gainy as when you have the clipping enabled. But yeah, that's your classic rock tone. We can see what happens if we crank the post master volume control all the way. Let's lower the system volume all the way to compensate. So I'm going to crank that up all the way. Yeah, so that is basically the amount of gain that you're going to get on the vintage Plex mode, basically with gain style set to the middle. Now, if we flick this to the drive mode, that's when we enable the gain control. Adds a little bit more gain. That's already more gain that you can get on a traditional Plexi, I think. And then the fat switch does add more saturation to the bottom end, right? Let's turn this down a little bit and try gain style to the right, which we haven't tried. In the demo song, I used that for the Edwards, so the Les Paul. So this introduces diode clipping into the circuit, I think. So it lowers the volume. So let's compensate. Nice and thick. Not as saturated as I would like. So what I like to do is just set the gain style to the left for the most amount of saturation. And again, this moves the master volume control pre-tone stack as opposed to post-tone stack. So again, now this control is active as the volume control. Oh yeah, there we go, there we go. Let's turn down volume 2 to remove a little bit of thickness and turn gain up all the way. Yeah, so that is my tone right there. I love these settings a lot. So this is basically my favorite setting. Yeah, so as you can tell, you can do a lot with this amplifier. It can take a minute until you get a hang of how the controls work, but once you know how it works, hopefully I did help you a little bit with that in understanding how this amplifier works, but it's very versatile, sounds so good, especially considering the fact that it's only a 20-watt amplifier. I think it sounds massive. I love it a lot. I think Dave Friedman did an amazing job with this amplifier. And of course, you know, the legacy of Arredondo, Jose Arredondo, is well infused in this amplifier in terms of the design, the sound, and the features, and the mojo. So yeah, great job, Friedman. Love what you did here. Check this amplifier out. Again, if you want to get one, check out my affiliate links, as that would really help out the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Massive thanks once again to Dave Friedman and the folks at BAD for sending me this amplifier. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. And I hope to see you soon in the next video. Cheers, guys.